No matter what universe you're in, whether it's Marvel or DC, anytime you try to cure cancer, you turn into a big green monster. This episode was about my favorite character, Dr. Phosphorus. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, Brent here back with Variants. Cover all things Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, anime, gaming, Star Wars, and more. This time, Creature Commandos, episode 6. We're one away from the finale. And like my name suggests, we finally had the introduction of Batman into James Gunn's DC universe outside of Caped Crusaders. Will, your thoughts?
I thought this was really good because they were able to fold Dr. Phosphorus' backstory into the ensuing chaos of them having to be on the run and still try and get their mission done. So it was done nicely, and we got a little bit of that heartfelt moment as well as some revenge. So I'm happy with the way this episode turned out. This was a really good one. We are, like I said, one episode away from the finale. So with that, we still have Nina to really cover and see if that gets covered in the finale. So that's kind of all I'm waiting on right now. But
From what the preview of next week's episode looked like, we're getting some Nina, but also we're going to get some ensuing anarchy that the likes of which only James Gunn and DC seem to have been cooking up, because I for one, am absolutely excited about what the DC universe is doing. I'm hyped up about the Lobo acquisition for one, and I'm also hyped up about how much James Gunn's made me care about characters that going into this, no expectations, no bar, no nothing. And this has been easily one of the best shows I saw in 2024 and will be up there for candidate for 2025. Because in this episode, we've got that huge backstory on Dr. Phosphorus, who, like I lightly alluded to in the beginning, he was a scientist who's working on curing cancer. He wanted to do things the right way and by the books. However, he tried to take some shortcuts, ended up with some rather seedy individuals, and things took a rather dark turn. How much of this backstory did you actually know beforehand, or is this just entirely new for you as it is for me? Because I'm shocked.
As far as I do, I knew he was in league with Rupert Thorne for part of his process. And I know some of the other characters he was involved with, which is why he could, like, how he's able to control his abilities to where his clothes don't burn off and sort of that. So, like, I know that part of his story, but how they did it in here, as far as his family backgrounds with that was new for me. So it was good to actually see that. And well, it wasn't good to see it necessarily, but it was good that we found out how things happened, and now we got more of an understanding of Dr. Phosphorus and how he reacts, because his complete attitude and demeanor the last episode when he just went through the tank was just beautiful. So now we're seeing the other side of him, where he, his human form, when he had some feelings about certain things. So chef's kiss, they did a good job with this.
Yeah, because Dr. Phosphorus was a character I really liked, because I tend to align myself with a lot of sarcastic characters, or characters who tend to be a little bit more on the narcissistic side, because they can be a bit arrogant. Dr. Phosphorus's last episode, Double Bird, was absolutely brilliant. But for the fact that we finally got to see that he was a family man, he just wanted to take care of everyone he loved, provide something great for the world. But then, of course, had it flip the script on him. And I've kind of been wondering, as this series has been progressing, who was bringing these people in? Who was bringing them to justice, so to speak? Because it seems like every single character we've met thus far really got framed for stuff that they necessarily didn't do, or had a very good reason for doing it. Like, who was able to bring in the bride? G.I. Robot, we saw he kind of got turned in. We saw that Weasel was framed. We see that Dr. Phosphorus went on a full revenge streak, and he basically acted like the freshly divorced dad the minute he lost his family and everyone he loved, and started just doing frivolous activities. Albeit, he ended up becoming a gangster, head of a new crime organization, and then started dressing like Prince. But again, he was someone who was kind of acting through his emotions, and the next thing you know, we see the Caped Crusader himself with the lightning, with the thunder, the dark Gotham. Like, the minute you saw that there was a gargoyle opening up the episode, leering over a building, you're like, I know exactly what city this is. Are they teasing us, or are we getting exactly what we thought? And that's not even covering, I'm sure, one of your favorite segments of this episode. Let's talk about your favorite part of the episode, likely, involving the bride and Nina because their chemistry for this episode was perfect.
So the bride and Nina have great chemistry. So that it's kind of like that, big sister, little sister kind of thing, and they're working well with each other in terms of the bride covering her. We had a little mojo from Nina. She's not taken down because again, they're trying to hide out. They're trying to freaking make sure that they're good and they can escape to continue the mission. But they're in this brothel with all these ladies, and we got some metahumans that come in and think that they run the show and they can do what they want and proceed to beat on women, which is a no-no. Like that's very frowned upon. So because they decided to, take these activities to the extreme, they definitely got what was coming to them with Nina starting it off, really getting in there and the bride covering her back and just letting it go to town. And it was a great scene. I love how it was done. I'm not gonna lie, I thought we were gonna get a little bit more graphic because of the location we were in, but we got enough to sell it that hey, you're gonna pay for what you did, and we're gonna move on and continue on our mission. So it was a great scene. I loved it. So yeah.
Normally, when you leave those kinds of establishments, you only leave money on the table. I say that these two gentlemen really left their heart out on the table for everyone, and it was very well deserved. Everything they did was wrong. It was heinous. They acted like they owned the place. Mistreatment of women is absolutely not okay in any uncertain terms. So the fact the bride came in and was able to enact justice in a way that only she knows how to do so was absolutely amazing. And it was cool to see that they were kind of pointing out some weird similarities because the lady that was running the business, so to speak, was someone who was basically calling out the bride point blank period on everything involving like her entire life, things that she's gone through. Some of the stories, like you pretend you don't care, you pretend you alienate yourself from people just to keep people at a distance. But the only person you're really disrespecting by doing this kind of activity is yourself. And so, of course, the bride is the first to be itchy trigger finger, try and get her up in the air, and everyone is just like, oh, things are taking a wild, wild turn. And then as all of our characters are kind of like slowly making their way, we had our soft moment with Dr. Phosphorus where he was just playing with the little girl, like he was trying to reenact some of the life that he lost. Because even though he's done all the things involving money and gambling and women and living, just well outside of the means of what most men ever experience, there was a giant hole in his heart and he wanted to just grow up, be a husband, be a father, live that basic life. And then he just realizes, oh, yep, I'm a spooky skeleton. People are terrified of me. This kid's having a great time, which is where we got our name of our episode, Priyatel Skelet. But now he's back and reunited with the crew, and they're staring out, looking over the castle. What kind of shenanigans are you think we're going to be in for next week with Frankenstein now well on his way to throw some extra spice into this group?
Well, I mean, you gotta look at what's on the table. Weasel made some friends out in the forest with that, so we may have some wolves in tow, and so that could come in later on to kind of help out because they may go looking for him because he walked off while they were sleeping. And we've got Flag, who was pretty much down and out for the count with a broken back. So it's just like, everybody's kind of on their own and off leash with no one to keep anybody in check. So Frankie's going to get there. He's going to cause problems. I think that probably the girl, the princess, is probably going to get maybe be collateral damage in the process of everything that's going on. That's a possibility. Or she may show her true colors in terms of what it is that she really has planned, because it was mentioned that they recently opened up communications with the U.S. after being closed off for so long. So is there a reason behind that? Is there a setup? Is she just playing coy and there's really something going on in the background? I don't know. So we may get some answers to that, and it may carry over into the DC live action at some point. But so wait and see.
And then we saw Amanda Waller state out bluntly that Frankenstein going after the bride causes World War III. So in my mind, I am so ready to see what triggers that series of events in that dream sequence to where we got our collection of heroes, anti-heroes, and some such all out there just absolutely desecrated, leading up to the point where Gorilla Grodd, of all people, is working with the princess because she doesn't seem all that bad. but she was a lot shorter of temper this episode than she's been throughout any of the episodes. So just like you alluded to, she could be playing us all for fools and having us all buying the "oh, I'm just a sweet little princess" routine that Rick Flag Sr. fell hook, line, and sinker for because, well, what else are the flags supposed to do but fall in love with women they ain't supposed to? It's just how they work. It's just how they operate. The show is brilliantly done. I love the writing, the hilarity of it, the tenderness of it. Man, you made me care about a weasel that looks like probably the ugliest thing in the history of humanity.
Hey
James
man,
Gunn, well done.
leave Weasel alone.
Weasel fans, I apologize, but your boy's got a weird look. Dr. Phosphorus, still the hero that I want him to be. And again, you guys could be my hero if you hit that lovely red subscribe button or the golden logo in the bottom right corner. Both are entirely free. It keeps you notified of everything that we got upcoming on the channel. More Baldur's Gate 3, some animes around the corner. We have some He-Man Masters of the Universe. We got some big things coming up, including the return of Harley Quinn Season 5. We know how I felt about Season 4. We'll see how Season 5 goes. I'm Brent with the man, the myth, the marvel, the opinion you care about in comics. We'll see you in the next one.